Welcome back. So let's get into this discussion now. Johannesburg has long-faced problems with traffic lights, with some being faulty, stolen or damaged. Now, the city's roads agency says it needs 70 million rand to fix and attend to backlogs. At the same time, only 15 of the 1,400 UPS units installed to keep the lights on during power cuts remain intact. Joburg councillor and Roads and Transport Portfolio Committee member in the Metro, Sean Kreusch, joins us now for more. Sean, good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope I didn't butcher your surname. Perhaps you can assist us with the pronunciation there. But this number, quite something, right? The Johannesburg Roads Agency estimating that it will spend 70 million rand to address the backlog in traffic signal repairs. Are you surprised by that number?
Well, welcome to everyone who's still up this late to talk about traffic signals. But absolutely, as you say, it's a very dire situation, and I think anybody that lives anywhere in the Johannesburg Metro would have at some point managed to weigh themselves through several, dysfunctional traffic signals, and some that have been probably out for more than a year and a half. So the situation is dire, and if anybody does manage to get through a traffic signal, they would notice that there's a box next to the signal, which is either a signaling unit or a UPS unit, which is a smaller metal box. And most of those have either been smashed open or driven over by a vehicle accident and, cleared out, stolen. So, yes, it is a very difficult situation that the city is facing at this point in time.
Yeah, I want to actually just get into why we're struggling to keep up, I suppose, with the maintenance, right? Is that a capacity issue? Or does a lot of it have to do with, I suppose, some of the decision-making from a leadership point of view?
Sure. Look, I've just been checking the latest annual report, which is available on the JRA website. And if I could just refer to that. The JRA budget in 2016 was 1.4 billion rand, roughly. If we look at the current budget for 2023, that is only 809 million rand. So over a period of 7 to 8 years, the JRA budget has shrunk to 54% of what it was in 2016. Coupled with that, the city has a road network of roughly 12,000 kilometers. It was estimated that you would need to do 1,000 kilometers per annum in order to maintain that network, and we're only averaging 150 to 180 kilometers. That being said, yes, signals have become a casualty of the financial restraints of the city. Clearly a huge slash in budget, which includes maintenance operationally, as well as the lack of capacity. You've got probably 2 or 3 teams that are managing over 2,000 signals. The city is also faced with many challenges in the sense that at least 400 of those signals are provincial, and the balance is run by the JRA and the Metropolitan, and then those 400 signals from province are under the management of JRA. But coupled with that, you've got power supply from City Power as well as Eskom. So you've got these complexities between 2 electricity service providers with Eskom and Joburg Power, coupled with the fact that you've got the highest pole over rate in the country. And what I mean by that is that every time you drive through a signal after a wild night of partying, you'll notice that several signals are driven flat. And that's through, obviously, poor driving, abuse, whatever that is. Yep. And that is a regular occurrence in the city. And with that, those poles are insured, and so they cannot just be reinstalled, because of the fact that those poles are insured, and then those that actually harm or damage those poles are then taken on. The poles need to be untouched until the investigators can obviously take the crime scene, if you want to call it, or pictures of what has the damage, et cetera, et cetera. So it's complex. It is a very complex situation. Vandalism, pullovers, abuse of traffic regulations. It's really, really dire at the moment.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think that if you, if you're driving around Johannesburg, a lot of people could argue that seeing those traffic lights not functional is a litmus test of, I suppose, of functionality in the city. And that's a little bit concerning. But I want to look at this. So just over 2,000 intersections under the JRA's jurisdiction, 16,000 poles, 100,000 bulbs, and several hundred kilometers of cable, and that backlog being 70 million rand. Talk to me about the knock-on effect. If we have, as we've seen, the continuation of this backlog starting to build up where our lights are concerned, are we starting to see more incidents? So I don't know if we've got that data, if we're starting to see more car accidents. And I imagine that there's also the economic sort of, fallout of it, of, people stuck in traffic for hours and, impact on productivity and such.
Look, you hit the nail on the head there. It's a compounding effect. I reside in Fourways, and I take my daughter to school along Cedar Avenue. Now, Cedar is a provincial road, and for months the several traffic signals have been down. And I think anybody that knows that they take a driver on Cedar take their lives in their own hands, because you've got taxis that literally come along in columns, oncoming traffic. Purely because of the backlog caused by dysfunctional signals. And then it's just a snapshot of what's happening across the city, actually. As a city councillor, seconded to Soweto, they have the same issues. It's not limited to one particular area of the city. This is citywide. And sadly, it impacts those that want to get to work every day. So economically, people are trying to get to work, get to school, commute to jobs. They're under pressure because they're, again, late for work. And you understand the desperation of the people, obviously, in the public transport, and that's the taxis included, needing to get to work quickly. And so what happens is there's a deterioration of rule of law. So it's not just about the fact that these signals are down. What we're seeing is a deterioration of rule of law, and it's going to continue as taxis go through signals that are broken and they don't stop or yield or treat them as four-way stops. We've seen, particularly as I use the case study of the Cedar Road, you've got water infrastructure that literally tears up intersections, which are then not reinstated for months. And I think of the uranium Cedar as an example again, and it's citywide. This is not restricted to any particular situation, but not only do you have infrastructure going down, you've got signals that are down, and it's just a compounding that occurs that frustrates people that are literally just wanting to make a living. Particularly in a city that is got a large contingent of people that are below the breadline and that are struggling. We cannot afford to struggle to get to work in the morning and get frustrated. And this is not a surprise. This has been ongoing as a committee member since the 2016. I've seen a gradual degradation of the quality and of the signal management and maintenance. The reports are clear. They indicate a 90 to 80% reinstatement of signals are down, but they're not reporting on the full contingent. So what's happening is JRA is only reporting on the functional signals that are working. So they will report on how quick they repair the functional signals. But there is a huge gap, in my estimate, of about 500 signals that are literally just been left on the side of the road and ignored. And that is the stark reality. Now, the question I need to ask many of the viewers is, and it was stated publicly by the MEC of Transport in Gauteng, just recently, in fact, that Joburg is the one suffering with the most signal downs. And the question has to be asked why. Vandalism and pullovers is not something that is just limited to the Johannesburg metropolitan area. Certainly other metropolitan areas have just as much issues around cable theft and vandalism. But what is it? Is it because the poles are a soft target within the metro? Is there enough accountability? Is it just easier to steal in the Johannesburg metropolitan area? So there are some tough questions that have to be asked about the Johannesburg metropolitan municipality, because they seem to be the ones suffering the most from this. Because of the MOU between the province and the city, JRA is the one maintaining the poles on the provincial roads, and examples are the Winnie Mandela Drive, R511, and Cedar, for example, Sandton Drive. Province is not paying JRA for the maintenance. There's a backlog of payment from province to the city for the maintenance of those damaged poles, etc. And spares is another reality. The shortage of spares, the accessibility to cabling, the fact that technicians that do reinstate signals cannot touch the power box, and they need to have an ESCOM qualified technician to be able to reinstate the power. So there's a point at the signal box where they are not allowed to touch the power. because they don't have the wiring authority to do that. So there's so much complexity around signals. And then there's the vandalism component where individuals decide to switch the boxes off so that they can manually manage traffic signal, and it's dangerous. And then we reward these people, and it just creates or compounds the behavior. But I get it. I understand how desperate people are to get through the traffic, and this is affecting millions of people every single day in the metro, and it is just going to get worse unless there is strong leadership from the Metropolitan as well as the MMC of the city, as well as the mayor, to provide budget, because it's been slashed. It's 54% of what it is. So more money has to be right. Now, the question is 70 million rand. Is 70 million rand that much if it literally disempowers people within the city to get to work? I'm sure we can find 70 million rand somewhere. It just needs appetite.
Okay. Yeah, Sean, of course, you have the JRA CEO, Zweli Nyathi, who's come out and said that they've partnered with over 40 companies to connect traffic signals near their buildings to back up supplies, and that to date more than 80 intersections have been successfully linked, with plans to connect an additional 80 intersections by the end of June. We'll keep checking in, of course, to see how that's looking, but we do appreciate your time. Sean Kreusch there, who is the DA City Councillor and member of the Roads and Transport Portfolio Committee.